right, now we're going to move on to mental wellness. And so this quadrant is so important. All right, here we acknowledge that peace of mind is part of the promise. Mental wellness isn't a weakness. All right, it's stewardship of the inner world that sustains everything else. It's so important. Okay, so here are three questions to ask yourself as you begin working on this particular quadrant. What thoughts or beliefs are you releasing in this season? What boundaries do you need to feel safe, seen, and supported? And what habits help you regulate your emotions and reclaim your joy? So let's take a moment and just step through each of those questions, right? Let's unpack it just a little bit. So what thoughts or beliefs are you really releasing in this season? You know, early on in this process, in this challenge, we took a lot of time to write down the good, the bad, the ugly, the things that have been sitting in our spirit, that have been keeping us kind of paralyzed in fear, stuck, afraid to dream again, afraid to love again, afraid to take that next step. We wrote letters to our younger selves because a lot of what we carry with us right now, a lot of those things happened to us or were placed on us when we were kids, those thoughts, those beliefs, the unworthiness, all those things. And those thoughts and those beliefs keep us from moving forward now in this season. Mental wellness is so important. If you're not mentally well, then that can impact the rest of your physical body, and that can keep you bound and stuck and wondering year after year, Lord, how can I move forward? How can I get over this stronghold? What can I do to move forward? And a couple of things that you can do is to set clear boundaries. Boundaries are for you and not for anyone else. When you set a boundary, you are thinking about your safety, you're thinking about your peace. You're thinking about how you want to be supported. The biggest boundary that I know I've set since I've reached for the 40s is the ability to say no. To say no, believe it, stand on that thing, and just say no. And the thing about it is, even if even if others get offended by your no, even if you have that little tingle in your heart that says, "Oh my God, I feel so bad," stand on that no. Okay? Stand on that no 10 toes down because um, eventually, like everything else, the more you work that muscle, the easier it will get. And oftentimes, women, we feel this sense of guilt by saying no, by not showing up, by not always making ourselves available. But if we are to live out these goals and we're to live out the things that God has placed us here to do, we're not going to have the capacity to be at every single thing. We're not going to be able to say yes to every single request. We're going to have to think about what matters most. What matters most? What is God calling me to do right now? Does this particular activity align with that? If it doesn't, then we need to stand on our no. And no sounds different. Sometimes it is simply no, period. And sometimes it's, I'm sorry, no. Actually, let me take that back. Let's stop apologizing. Take that, scratch that. We're not going to say I'm sorry, no. It could be oftentimes, I know if you are like me, sometimes your face will say something say words that, that your mouth isn't going to say. So just ensure that you are kind. You're considering kindness when you're saying your no and that you are doing it from a place of love, right? You're considering all the factors. I had someone approach me recently asking for a donation, and I said no. You know, I said no, I'm not going to be able to support. And then they came back around and said, "What do you mean you're not going to be able to?" Like they were harboring. And so I said, you know, I have other things that are more important right now. So my no is going to have to stand. And I don't know if I would have been able to respond that way that quickly. And I'm paraphrasing what I said. I don't think I even said that many words. I was very quick on my no. But I don't know if I would have been able to be that quick with it had I not been working that muscle. So sometimes it'll sound like no, period. And sometimes it'll just be like, you know, that doesn't work well with my schedule. You know, that's not aligned with what God wants me to do. That's my favorite line right now. You know, that's not really aligned with what God wants me to do right now. You know, but I wish you well. Okay. And I have this many of you may be like this where when you are in spaces and organizations, even at work, and you have for so long been that person that they can call on, that people can call on, that they can call at any time of the day or night, and you will answer, and you will wake up, and you will do the thing that they need, even in your family. But when you start setting boundaries, it almost feels weird to you and weird to others. So I just say start working that muscle. And a part of my mental wellness journey is being able to set clear boundaries, saying no. And a part of my boundaries is I also have to be disciplined with my time. And that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I have to make sure that I am intentional with the time that I spend just with me so that when I'm saying no, I still have the capacity to do what I need to do. I'm not just wasting my time doing nothing. If I decline to go to an event, I need to make sure I'm declining to go to that event because there is something else that needs my attention. And even if that thing that needs my attention is rest, okay, that's an activity too, because there's no way I can show up and do the work that I need to do if I'm not fully rested and fully, present in what I need to do. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but just know this quadrant is so, so, so important to me. Mental wellness is not something to play around with. I think that this day and age, we hear a lot about mental health. We hear a lot about therapy and counseling and all the things. So this is the quadrant where that belongs. How are you going to focus on your mental health? This is something that is for you only. No one else can be in charge of your mental health. It's something that you have to do. What brings you joy? What makes you smile? What gives you, you know, those warm and fuzzy butterflies? What is it? Figure that out. Do more of that. Be intentional about it. Plot it down on your vision board for the year. All right. Okay, y'all. We're almost getting down to the end. I know you're excited about actually taking all these little pieces and start plotting them, and we're going to get there soon. But just keep gathering pictures, gathering notes, and thinking about how you want to be intentional this year in regard to your mental health. Okay. All right. So I will talk to you next time. Bye.